Hello everyone and welcome to Flawless, a music podcast. My name is George and I'm here with my co-host Liam.
Good evening everybody, welcome to Flawless.
And good morning to those people joining us on their commute.
Yes, I always listen to podcasts on my commute. In fact, it's the only time, so now I'm working from home, I don't listen to as many podcasts as I used to.
Ah, sad time for podcasts.
I've had to trim down to just the very best.
Oh, I only really listen to our own, which is sad. Each episode of Flawless, a host or a guest nominates an album that they think is flawless. We discuss how they discovered it, what they love about it, and what makes it flawless for them. We have a Facebook group, or meta group.
A meta group.
It's called Flawless Friends and Family. It's where we discuss all things about music that we love and that you love, and we post in there about upcoming episodes and what albums are nominated. You can find a link in our show notes.
And I remember to do it this time, except not until like the day before, so no one said anything.
That's fine, because no one said anything yet that we can quote. But, you know, maybe in future episodes for Patreon backers, we can have notes from the Facebook page.
Yes, I'll have to do it a little earlier next time instead of the day before.
Because we do indeed have a Patreon. You can back us from as little as $1 a month, and you get early access to our episodes, access to our bonus episodes, and that warm, fuzzy feeling inside that you are helping us spread the flawless love. You can find us at patreon.com/flawlessamp. So, Liam.
Good evening.
It's not just us today, is it?
It is not. We are just the two hosts bringing someone else's viewpoints to the fore.
We are. So, we have a guest.
Mm-hmm.
Guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm guest. Tim Byrnes. That's me.
Tim Byrnes. And what do you do, Tim Byrnes?
I like to dabble in a few things. I do writing about music and movies and all sorts of things. I think that's the main thing I do these days.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do by day, Tim Byrnes?
By day? Oh, better not talk about that. They're always watching.
Yeah. But tell us about the shirt you're wearing this evening.
The shirt I'm wearing? Well, good thing I changed, because I changed from my uniform to this. Yeah. So this is We Set Sail. I believe you've had them as guests before as well.
We have.
Yes.
So they recently did their final gig.
They did. Very sad.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I believe the old shirt used to say, what was it? Live long, die tired?
Yeah. Not sure.
I think they did it.
Yeah.
I got to review that gig and I picked up the shirt there and I was like, oh, great.
Nice.
And where do you review?
I review for places like Scenester mostly. Mm-hmm. That's a Australian street press. Great stuff there, especially by that Tim Byrnes guy. Yeah. Fantastic.
Nice.
Bits of writing for SBS. And yeah, all up here, all over the place.
Nice.
Wherever the wind takes me.
Fair
awesome.
Enough. So if people want to find stuff by or follow you somewhere, where can they do that?
At this stage, it's TikTok and was Twitter. Now I think it's called
X. As of yesterday.
Yeah.
As of yesterday.
Which is trademarked by Microsoft.
Yes.
And, is it?
Yeah. And their new logo comes from like a $30 font set. Like the X, they can't use the X either. There's a logo because it's
So
it's a completely unsurprising debacle.
I mean, I think there was recently they were trying to change the logo on their building, and the city was like, no, you have to have a permit to do that.
Yes.
And it seems like it kind of goes with the territory with Elon Musk. He doesn't seem like a permit guy.
No. So there was a photo I saw today where they got halfway through it, so now it just says So they took down the twit and they've just got on the side of the building, which is great.
They've still got the twit in the building. Zing.
Nice.
But I guess my handle on anything, I guess I'll set up an Instagram now just in case. It's Tim Byrnes. So it's BYNES.
Fair enough. We'll link to some of that in the notes and everything as well, so people don't have to think too hard about it.
That's true. But because you are our guest, you have nominated an album for us to deem flawless or not flawless. Can you please tell us what album that is?
Okay. The album that I brought to Flawless is The Ha Ha Sound by Broadcast.
Still on the page, or colour me in. Just an outline, sketchy but fine, or colour me in. If green is chasing the hills over miles, if blue is pursuing the sky, see if the red of your heart doesn't mind where you begin to colour me in.
Nice. Bit of a step outside our usual. Not something that we cover a lot of. This kind of sound, the ha-ha sound, which is not really a ha-ha sound at all on the album. But yeah, this sort of stuff is not something that we cover very often, so it's cool.
The irony of the title of the album.
Yes.
Yes, not lost on me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Broadcast, Ha-Ha Sound came out 11th of August 2003.
Oh, was it an August album?
It was an August album. So I know, little baby, August baby. So, how did you find out about Broadcast and this album?
Well, I think it was the way I found out about a lot of music a long time ago was Wikipedia. I just click on one link, end up another place, just go down those wormholes.
Yeah.
I think this one was, I think I discovered shoegaze at the time. Was looking for all the newer shoegaze bands. There's a great band called The Radio Department who are from Sweden.
They're wonderful.
Oh, so good. That was going to be an album to nominate.
Nice.
But I was like, haha, sound. Let's do it. So, and they listed that Broadcast as an influence. And from there, I decided to have a listen. And for me, it was pretty mind-blowing. It was very different, but also kind of familiar. I always explain them as like, if the people who do the Doctor Who music made pop songs.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So was this the album that you got onto them?
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I guess there was only 2 or 3 albums that you could have gotten into.
Yeah, at the time, it must have been about 2006 or 7. I must have discovered them. So they only had 3 albums at that time, and I think they only really have 3 actual studio albums under their name. But there's a few collaborations and soundtracks and things like that.
Yeah. Cool. So then, did you sort of go back and... So this was their second one. Did you go back and listen to their first one? What made you pick this album versus some of the other stuff they've done?
It's just the one that clicks the most for me, I think. It's very out there for them. It's, I mean, they're already a pretty out there band. This one, I feel like they really lean into the psychedelia.
Yeah.
Whereas the first album, they're sort of figuring themselves out. And that third album, they were reduced down. I think they started off as a 5-piece. They're a 3-piece for this album.
Yep.
And then for the third album, they're a 2-piece.
Yeah,
and
so with the 2 main people.
Yeah, and with that third album, they went, reduced it quite a lot. All of them are amazing albums, but this one just, it feels like it's got a bit more mystery and psychedelia and all sorts of things attached to it. It's just... I don't know, it just really grabs me and tickles my brain.
Nice.
So listeners to the podcast will have heard the opening of Colour Me In by now. So you'll have the gist of what we are talking about, which is very exciting. So this is their second studio album. It went to 130 in the UK charts, but went to number 4 in the UK dance charts.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because why would you dance to this?
Yeah, you can't dance to it.
Like, just because it's electronic.
Yeah,
I think
basically.
it's probably because it was released on Warp Records, which is a really well-known dance label with bands like, or artists like Aphex Twin or
Allteka, Square Pusher, Boards of Canada, and Brian Eno. Yeah. They're the ones I wrote down.
Brian Eno's on there as well.
Yeah.
It feels like his kind of label. Every now and again, they do something a bit out there, like Maximo Park. That was a signing of theirs. And they're probably the only guitar indie band sort of on that label. They had the actor Vincent Gallo, who's known for... Buffalo 69, I think, and The Brown Bunny, which is an awful film.
Right.
He's a massive right-wing crank these days. Right. Very paranoid.
Okay.
I don't know if he's like Jim Caviezel level, but he's there now.
There.
But
someone not to follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
For your sanity.
Don't look at his website because he's selling his own fluids, if
No.
I remember right.
Gross.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's the kind of guy.
Yeah.
He hasn't released music for a long time. It's probably for the best.
Yeah, I've heard of him, but only on. I didn't know he did music stuff. I'd heard of him as the actor and director and
Yeah.
those movies
Yeah.
that he made, but I didn't know he did music stuff. So
Yeah.
probably
Best
for the
advice,
best.
don't.
I won't. Yeah, no, plenty of good stuff out there. I can leave the bad stuff behind.
well, in 2007, this came into the 1,000 albums before you die list on The Guardian.
Yeah. So you talked about it didn't chart hugely, which is fair because this is not the kind of music that charts widely. But it was definitely very critically acclaimed at the time. Got good reviews, and yeah, like you said, 1,000 albums to listen to before you die. Pitchfork put it on 121 on their best albums of the 2000s. Like it's critically really loved it, even if it didn't necessarily make a lot of waves.
And I would have said, judging by when I started listening, I hadn't done any research. I was surprised by 2003 because I was expecting 95 to 97,
Okay.
thinking Portishead, Bjork,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You know,
probably-
that dreamscape stuff that's happening with like female angelic vocals or whatever. So when I first listened, I was like, oh, I knew the name, but like I hadn't actually delved into it. And so when I gave it a listen, I was like, oh, it feels like mid to late 90s.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to give it a lot of eras. So, 90s, that's when they began, I believe.
Yep.
And a lot of other people are like, this has got a lot of very 60s psychedelic,
Yeah.
early electronic music sounds, or the production is very 2000s, or
Yeah.
all sorts of things. So it's very...
Well, yeah, that was my thought too. Just then, it's like if they'd been 10 years later in the 2013 sort of era, they probably would have blown up. So I think a lot of Oz indie music now sounds like this, like your Triple J sort of stuff, really electronic, soundscapey with a really strong vocalist.
Yeah.
That's Triple J all over the
I
shop
wouldn't be
these days.
surprised if Tame Impala is into this as well, or all the bands that gravitate around that scene.
Yeah.
It feels like something that fits.
Yeah.
So, Liam,
Hello.
had you heard Broadcast or this album before it was dropped into the chat?
I had never heard of them
Oh.
at all. So even though this was 2003, I was mostly listening to Oz rock, like I said, Triple J stuff, like the indie sort of Oz rock stuff. So
We're talking
and-
the Vines and...
early 2000s was still like your Jebediah, Green Spoon, Silverchair, those sorts of guys were still doing stuff back then. So I was definitely much more focused on dudes with guitars than anything that would have sounded like this. But I don't remember hearing any of this stuff on the radio either. Like it's not like sometimes there'll be stuff like that where I won't know an album at all, but I'll hear a song and go, oh yeah, I know that song off the radio. I just didn't pay attention to it at the time, but this was completely clean for me.
Yeah, I
which was
can't
cool.
imagine it being ever appearing on Triple J.
No.
Maybe... I remember they used to have an experimental music show way back in the day.
Vanilla Kernebone, I think, used to
That's
host it on
it.
Sunday nights.
Yeah.
So actually, I think this sort of stuff probably would have been right up her alley. I think they probably would have played some stuff like this, but I didn't listen to it on Sunday nights. So.
No, I had other things on Sunday nights at the time. I think I was in high school. Yeah.
Ooh,
Grade
okay.
9, I think.
Well, I'm feeling old. Okay. George.
I heard the name,
Okay.
like just banded about, heard the name. So I was listening to people like Ortega and like war bands. And who did Lemon of the Pink? I can't remember. It was like the books and stuff like that, which was very much in this wheelhouse.
Yep.
All of the music I had in this genre was on CDR or downloaded on SoulSeek because that's what I did.
Yep.
I'm surprised that I hadn't actually listened to them, considering I knew the name and considering that they are aligned to some of the music I was listening to. So it was a pleasant surprise. So thank you, Timothy.
I tried.
Yeah.
Very good. So in the band
Yep.
was Trish Keenan on vocals, keyboards and guitar, James Cargill on bass, Rod Stevens keyboards, Tim Felton on guitar, Neil Bullock and P. Jenkins on drums, and then Nick Webb did the mastering. So they pulled together a lovely album. Now, Trish Keenan sadly passed in 2011 at the age of 42 having contracted swine flu at the end of an Australian tour and then came down with pneumonia and didn't survive.
I knew it was swine flu and pneumonia, but I didn't know that was part of an Australian tour.
Yeah, it was their first tour,
Right.
final, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was so hoping to go see them live at the time.
Mhm.
I remember they were playing Meredith.
Yeah, perfect.
Which
Yep.
seems about right.
Yep.
But yeah, at the time I was living in Townsville. It's not the kind of music that a lot of people liked, let alone in Townsville or knew of. Townsville is a very how would you describe the music taste of Townsville? I mean,
rock.
Tex Perkins?
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be
Or
lucky if Tex
no,
Perkins.
Yeah, In Excess and Crowded House, but
Jimmy Barnes.
Jimmy Barnes.
Jimmy Barnes feels like a regular visitor.
What's his band? For the love of God, why is that name escaping me? What's the name of Jimmy Barnes' band?
Oh, Cold Chisel.
Cold Chisel. I knew
Yeah,
there was
I
a
think
set.
they did a few things
Oh my
there.
God, yeah.
Is it Midnight Oil as well?
Yeah,
I've
Midnight
heard
Oil,
of-
yeah.
Midnight Oil are a bit political for Townsville. They're a
They
bit...
would have listened to him,
Yeah.
but it would have been like, well, I remember John Howard's favourite song of Midnight Oil was Beds Are Burning, which is like about Indigenous land rights,
Yeah.
and it doesn't seem like a topic that really fit the guy.
Yeah.
David
I feel like-
Cameron in the UK said
Like-
that Eton Rifles was one of his favourite songs.
Oh, the jam song.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
which is all about like
Private school
Take
boys.
down private school
taking out
boys,
private
yeah.
schoolboys, which is where he came from. So
Yeah.
I feel like Townsville would go to a Midnight Oil gig, dance along, and then when Pete Garrett starts saying this next song is about blah, they'd be like, "Shut up and sing the song."
Definitely.
So-
Strangely, though, Townsville is also there's a great band that was from there called the Middle East.
Yes. Love the Middle
Really went to uni with like at the same time as them.
Yeah.
But it was just a really weird one to come out of there. A very
they're-
Sufjan Stevens sort of
oh, nice.
influence.
Art folk sort of stuff. Yeah.
Lots-
very
very
different.
art
Very not a
folk.
Townsville band.
Hello.
Lots of glockenspiels.
Yeah.
So it was a very weird one to come from there.
Just
but
going to write that down so I can listen to it later.
Yeah.
Thank you
totally
very
I'll
worth
send
much.
you a song. There's like they've got one of the all-time great songs.
Oh,
Is
sweet.
Middle East. Yeah. So
we're talking Blood.
Yeah.
Amazing song.
Yeah.
But despite the Middle East coming from there, not a lot of people would have heard of Broadcast. So it's not like I could have taken anyone with me to Meredith.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Especially if you're in high school as well. That's a big
Yeah.
trip for a high school
it was
kid.
2011. I would have been.
But
in
of
uni.
course it was. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking this was when it came out, but no, it
Yeah.
was much later. Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah, I would have been in uni,
Yeah.
maybe final year of uni. So I would have had the means of getting there, but it's just that going alone at the time, I was like, oh, I couldn't even go to the movies alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that sort of thing. But I was like, told myself, oh, maybe next time.
Ah, dear.
I had the same thing with The Fall when they were last here. I was like, oh, I'm sure Marky Smith will be fine and come here next time.
Right.
Nope.
So what you're saying is you are deaf.
Tell
I'm
us
deaf.
tell us who else you like so we can get ready.
I am
mentally
become
prepare
death, destroyer of
ourselves.
worlds.
So
But so Keenan is just like the heart and soul of the band. Just
Oh.
her voice is just so beautiful, so yearning all the way through. It's just so a real loss. Like you would have loved to have heard what they were going to keep doing and growing and growing over the years. So
And they
it
were
was real
doing
just-
some amazing stuff towards the end. They did
Yeah.
a really good little, I guess it was a mini album with a guy named Julian House. He does music under the name The Focus Group. He's probably known more for his design work. He's designed a lot of film posters and lots of different things. Books. I think it's a Jarvis Cocker book that came out recently, and the cover is by him. It's this very, once again, 60s psychedelic sort of influence thing. And so he'd put in tape noise and all sorts of things into it. And that stuff was really good as well. It's just that it was a very, very short album. So we're like,
wow.
can't wait to hear what else. And then I think their final release was a soundtrack for a fantastic movie called Barbarian Sound Studio with Toby. I'm trying to think of what his name is. Because he's the voice of Dobby in the Harry Potter films.
Oh, okay.
He turns up in like Jurassic Park and all sorts of things. I'm sure it'll click. When I wake up in the middle of tonight, I'll be screaming his name.
Yeah.
Going, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Dropping it in the group chat.
Toby Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Toby
Jones.
Jones.
Yes. Cool.
Hunger Games, Jurassic World, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So he's the lead, and in this film, he's doing the sound Foley work for a Italian horror film. So all the sound effects, it's like this scene, we've got a girl's head getting crushed.
Right.
There's them filming him just messing around with watermelons and all sorts of things. You never see what's on the screen, but apparently it's really disturbing.
Right.
You're just watching Toby Jones go to work on these things, and it really fits with what broadcasts are about as well, because that seems like the sort of, I mean, their music I can imagine over Italian horror films and that sort of thing.
Because
sure.
like it sounds angelic almost.
Yes.
Like to listen to. So Colour Me In is so sweet, like a carousel, and with angelic vocals. I was listening and just going, wow, the effects on this and the psychedelia attached to it and those synthy sounds. And but then lyrically, it was all about her being so grey and dark and wanting somebody else to take the colours to colour her in, to be a brighter person.
Yeah.
And I was like, so like when I first listened to the album, I was like, this is so beautiful. And then when I got into the lyrics, I was like, this is so dark.
Yeah.
Like she's singing so sweetly about such miserable things. Like what a dichotomy, but a really well placed one.
Yeah, so she's like, we've covered introverts in music before, but she is like that massive introvert, like just doesn't feel like she takes any like grandstanding joy out of performing, but just has something inside her that has to come out, and that's why she's formed a band and does all these things. Like it's just, so that I read some stuff that, she suffered from stage fright in the early days, so she got a reputation for just shoegazing all the way through.
Yeah.
Like she wouldn't look up, she wouldn't do bands, she just like, I don't like being up here and I don't like doing this. So she even said in an interview, I used to get nervous like the whole of that day of the show, and now it only happens the moment I walk on stage. When you listen to me sing my first line, you can always tell my heart is in my throat. Headlining gigs is a confidence booster. So
I had that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just loves she loves it, but she hated it, and it was all just,
Like she had to do it.
Yeah, it was just, she was bound.
It's
and
like
so,
the theme to the subject of every great pop song, really. I love you, but I hate you.
Yeah.
I have to do this.
Mm-hmm. They also did a lot of stuff where they were recording things and then they'd feed it back through. They'd record it and then feed it back through mics again to give it like that really rough, terse kind of sound. And the other thing she did during this album is she recorded with her head in a cardboard box.
I did catch that.
Which was, so just she said it gave it a closeness and deadness that makes it sit in the mix a bit nicer. So they were all just like, I feel like they weren't even recording their things at the same time. Like, they'd probably come together in the studio to mix stuff together, but their process was so separate and their own sort of involvement in it was just so different. So it was really cool.
It was interesting because they're in opposition to that cardboard box anecdote. Like the drums were recorded in an old church nearby as well, which gives them that really big sound. So it was like a really interesting mixture of these big drums and this close, tiny voice.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful because you could talk about drums. Pendulum track 2, the drums and the ominous synth with all that reverb on the vocals. So which I wonder how much effect she got on her vocals from being in a cardboard box versus actually plugging
post stuff.
Post stuff. But it's all on the beat with guitars doing scratchy noises, like taking your plectrum and going up the string, which is really cool. And then there's that breakdown, and my only assumption was this song was under the influence. Like of some, they talk about psychedelia. I feel like they definitely dropped acid at some point before they made this album.
They're definitely some spacey people.
Yeah.
Spacey Beagle, is that what they
Spacey people.
Oh, I thought you said Spacey Beagle. It's like, is this what the kids are doing these days? Oh my goodness!
I know. Epic. Liam knows all the kid slang.
Yeah, I'm down with the kid slang for sure.
I'm still stuck on Pokemon and planking.
Oh, bless.
That album's got that song Pendulum's got an awesome line in it. So it's that same thing of like she feels trapped by powers that she can't control, and she's trying to understand them, and it's just really cool.
That's awesome.
Did you have any favourite songs on the album you wanted to talk about?
Oh gosh, it's a hard one, really. I always love, honestly, the closing song is one I love. Hawk.
Yep.
It's just, I like the, it's got this really reedy sort of buzzing synth that just sustains all throughout it. And she's just does this really nice, smooth, sustained notes. Like it's not, we're not expecting Australian Idol sort of stuff, which is great. I'm okay with that. I don't need to hear 34 notes in the one beat. But yeah, it's just this really nice sound. It's got this sort of metronome sort of beat there. And it's just really I don't know, really calming, really soothing.
Yeah. And it's about lost love and having that feeling of winter with sorrowful oaths. But there's 3 couplets of lyrics like in there. But in there was this like thing that hit me to the feels.
Speak your words, define my grief for me. Out of reach, some things just cannot be.
And I thought it was just really sad.
And so did I, and that's why I wrote it down as well. Lyric buddies. Lyric buddies have written down the same lyric. But
there you go. Sorry, it's just a competition to see who will read it first.
So the album's about
like the instrumentation on that song is more harsh and savage than anything else that's been on the album. Like that's a rougher song, almost, and it's like it's one of those things where it almost feels like where I don't know what it sounds like compared to their first album, but it feels to me like this is what's coming next for us. We're going to try and this album is cool for what it is, but this last song we're giving you just a little bit of a teaser of what we might sound like next.
It's not too far off from what Tender Buttons ends up being.
Okay.
It is a bit more, I'd say a bit more pop. It's toned down a lot on those big reverbed, crazy drums and whooshing and whirring sort of sounds throughout it. It does have those, but I feel like, it's toned it down a lot. It's more focused on, I guess, hooks, melody.
Yeah.
And then, for that final mini album with the focus group, they just go crazy all over again. Just do whatever the hell they want.
Nice.
Because the album basically is a lot about lost love. But in Hawk, it almost feels like it's the acceptance of that loss. Like you go through the whole album toing and froing with the "Are you there? Have you gone? Are you there? Have you gone?" And then at the end, it's just like there's grief and acceptance, and that's the closing. It could only be the closing song to tell the story.
Yeah.
So like it does ramp up at the end, and it would be misplaced anywhere else in the album.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a really cool one. That it's got Winter Now before it, and it feels like you're spinning on a roundabout of the plinky plonky sound. The bassy drum rolls were really nice. Again, missing someone. What did you want to know? Like, what is it? Come on.
The heartbreaker.
It's just a heartbreaker.
I'm told.
But there's just silence and 49 seconds of noises and keys in the outro.
But
love it.
Super spacey ones like Falling Snowflakes. Like the beauty of a band like this is you can just have, like, if if it's any kind of like more straightforward rock band, you've got a song that's about winter and snow. You can just have little bits of snow, like it just feels like you hear it, feel it falling in the space. It's really cool.
You don't know what snow's like. You live in Brisbane.
I've been to snow. I've touched snow once.
I'm English.
Yeah.
Now, what snow are we talking? Are we talking snowy mountains, or are we talking the powdery, nice English stuff?
No, it was in Europe. It was in Frankfurt in Germany.
Okay, that's proper snow. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I learned that how you see people having snowball fights. You can't just pack a thing of snow down and throw it at someone. Like if you pack it too hard, it doesn't break when it hits them. It just hurts.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much my experience of it.
You've got to be really careful about building a snowball that you're going to use to throw at someone, because if you build it the wrong way, it'll like brain them in the head and they'll go down. So
oh yeah, it hurts so much.
So someone hurt you, Liam?
No, I might have pinged Michelle with a snowball.
Oh, okay. You didn't get to be on the receiving end.
No, I think by the time
lucky.
after that, we both decided it was probably not a good idea.
Okay, like you don't know how to play nice, so
No.
don't worry at all.
Well, I just assumed, I've seen people just pack snowballs. I didn't realize they were taking care to make sure to not pack it too tight, because then it doesn't burst when it hits them. It just beans them in the face.
Yeah, that's what they don't tell you in the Christmas movies.
They don't.
Yeah, it's just like it seems like a big ball of powder, but then
So
all of a sudden you get a concussion.
Yeah.
You poor Australians go over to Europe and experience snow for the first time.
Give each other
You-
concussions.
See,
with
I didn't even
snowballs.
go to Europe. I went down to the snowy mountains here for a snow trip. It's a very short snow season. Skiing wise, it's not that great. Thanks global warming.
Yeah.
It was very. I guess it was still quite melty. They had to make a lot of the snow as well.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's so
so-
sad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
Australian
big.
snow season, there's a lot of fake snow.
Yeah.
Or made snow. I don't know if it's purely fake, but it's made. Yeah.
It definitely hurts
generated.
though, so I'm
Yeah.
guessing it is real.
Yeah.
Bless. Fair enough. Well, they have a song called Mannion, which has harpsichord synth.
Yep.
And the bass is like raindrops, like a double bass. So that's really nice. But then it lifts up into a dancey, wiggly, jazzy section. So they really love to play with their genres, even within one track.
Yeah. So there was a bit of jazz stuff floating around. So that one they had the jazz drumming on the cymbals, and also
Yeah.
it felt like a double bass almost sound.
Yeah.
And then
Lots of R's.
yeah, there was some harmonizing. So I'm assuming it's probably James Cargill, since he's the one that's been there all along. But obviously mostly Trish performing the vocals, but I think there was a little bit of male harmonizing in there as well, which is really cool.
And she speaks in German, which I will not do, but it translates to people and the wind change fast.
Most I know is ein großes Bier bitte.
Yeah.
Die Katze ist auf dem Tisch.
Oh, what's that one?
The cat is on the table.
That's where they usually are. They've got it nailed.
Absolutely. But they own it at one point where they have one called Ominous Cloud. And you're like, oh, finally,
Yeah.
you've accepted who you are. Fuzzy guitars, double bass, synthy chords, but then that soft, sweet melody and harmonies.
This one's, probably the most straightforward construction of the songs of the whole album. This one's like, I recognize this song structure. Thank you very much.
The layers in the vocals are just gorgeous, though, aren't they? So, can see the upcoming darkness, but it's not stopping her. So, like, the whole premise of it is like the clouds are coming and the rain might come, but she's still going to go out there and she's still going to just go into the darkness because that's who she is. And if you're not paying attention to the lyrics, it's just, this is so sweet to listen to.
It's
and
nice.
then you deep dive and go, who hurt you?
Yeah. Because, she's got that, like, she doesn't have a huge range with her vocals. Like, it's not monotone or anything, but it's not a huge range. But she's able to find those little levels within her expertise that, like, really, like, the up and down really gets to you.
Yeah, I mean, she does. She knows her voice really well.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's not going to be an Australian Idol.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the fact she's British as well.
Yeah.
And deceased. That doesn't help. But
Doesn't help.
She knows her voice really well, and
Yeah.
she knows how to move it.
Yeah,
All
and
this-
it's quite hypnotic as well. Like, I think they kind of use it as an instrument. We talked about that before as well. Like, it's not just, here's a bunch of stuff and my singing on top of it. Like, it's factored in, and the way it connects with the other pieces of the instrumentation works really well. But like, sometimes it can be quite hypnotic. So there's not a huge amount of lyrics on most of these songs. A lot of them are quite, even if they're a longer song, they'll still be quite brief in lyrics, where she might start repeating stuff and have a bit of a refrain. So they can be a bit hypnotic too.
And in Distortion, there are no lyrics whatsoever.
No, instrumental. I thought you'd like Distortion Jazz.
Yeah, jazz,
George,
drums, noise.
Because it's got jazz.
Because it's got jazz. Well, I have bought 2 jazz albums
You
so
have.
far.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
know.
what do we got?
We've had Chet Baker.
Oh, yeah.
And Nina Simone.
Oh, okay.
So, that's I bring jazz. So jazzy, but then she's playing the strings on the headstock of the guitar to make that noise.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes.
Ah.
So that's that like disjointed, like clink, clink, clink kind of noise is, but like another band to use that technique are Placebo, by the way. But yes, so that's spooky, jazzy, fun, and it's 2 minutes of her not singing.
Super fast-paced jazz drumming, and then like using the bass drum almost sounds like a gong. Like it's like the reverb on it, and the way that they obviously did, like we talked about, they used that thing like they recorded it and they fit it back through in a loop to sort of give it that sound, and it's really cool. Mm-hmm. Any other favourites that we haven't mentioned so far, Tim?
Oh gosh. Trying to think of what else was on the track list.
Man is not a bird. That's
he isn't. I'm yet to meet one.
That's nearly 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a good time. Oh, love them all to bits, really. What was it? -3, I think, was another track on there. Was it -2?
I don't think that's on this one.
It wasn't on this one?
No, but so Man is Not a Bird's got that staccato jazz drumming again, which is really awesome. It's got like wind chimes. I think I looked it up. I think it's called like a mark tree. But basically the thing, like you've got hanging wind chimes, but they're all different lengths, so they create notes instead of just random sounds.
I just wrote tingly bells.
Yeah.
Tingly bells?
I had to look up what it was. A
bells.
mark tree, apparently.
But it has its harmonies are dreaming, and it feels post-breakup because she sings. And I was like, oh, fair enough. Like, it's raining, but I'm not going to rain from my eyes.
Yeah, nice.
Like,
I know she studied, she studied writing. She did a master's in it.
Okay.
And it's really coming through now that we're talking about this. I'm like, wow.
But it's also super percussive, that track as well. So like lots of really cool drumming, fills and draws and stuff like that.
But there's some reverb on the drums at the beginning too.
Because they're starting to do that loop stuff around again.
Yeah,
like
the loop
playing
loops.
with the sounds.
And then it sounds like at the end, because they have that moment of silence where the drums come back in. And it sounds like, you know, when you hold your mouth and you go...
Yeah. So, I had that as droplet sounds. I thought like they recorded like little drops of water hitting stuff. But yeah, it could be that.
Yeah, it could be either.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of them like smacking their torch cheek to make the little noises.
Yeah, nice. And then the drums become like super electronic drum machine, like proper drum machine drums as well in that last minute.
This is true. And then we've got... in lunch hour pops,
yes,
everyone is playing, and it's transcendent, like a carnival, with like that vintage Korg sound of synth. So like they have like a lot of like, as you were talking about, they hark back to the 60s. They had that kind of sound with the Beach Boys style synth. As opposed to the more modern noisy synths.
Big retro keys.
Yeah, like totally retro and constant ooze behind the vocals.
I had that one down too. It was like ooze.
Yeah,
because that's more of that hypnotic sort of stuff. It's like just that very narrow range that her voice hits and then sort of feeds back and forth.
I'm wondering if they're actually trying to hypnotise us. I know they're really into the occult as well.
Okay.
They're from Birmingham, which is the birthplace of heavy metal. That's where Black Sabbath's from, and they were always accused of being the occult. So could be something in the water.
Well, Birmingham's a place that I used to hate going to whenever I was working.
What was the go there?
It was just really desolate and run down, and I didn't like walking the streets at night.
Because there's a devil around the corner?
No, because there were chavs around.
Yeah.
Oh, the chavs. They're the new green man.
A bit dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I was going to say, I love the little bell at the end there.
I was going to say little bell.
The little bell.
Little bell.
Just these little differing vocal patterns, and, you know, it's like it's a clockwork song. The whole thing is just constructed to go around in that loop, and you can hear the tick-tocking and stuff, and like little tick-tocking electronic patterns. And she's got the line in there.
Why do you leave me so confused?
It's a
like
very,
this little-
it's a very interesting melody as well. It
Yeah.
makes me think of maybe something from a very old children's show.
Oh, it felt like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
Yeah, lullaby style thing. Yeah.
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 It's like it feels like this is a show for the children, but it's going to scar them.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Watership Down sort
Like,
of stuff.
yeah, like a true fairy tale, like
Yeah.
Grimm's brother
Yeah.
was originally. But
Now-
it ends with like these sad, sort of slow, drawn out noises, like a clock that's slowly stopping, like it's
Because
running out of power.
she says, now deep inside my wooden clock, there is a tick, but not a tock.
yeah,
Oh.
it's so sad.
It's so sad.
I know.
Like
it's,
that lost love thing.
Yeah.
Like, gosh. Yeah. So Valerie, though, was in reference to
Valerie and her Year of Wonders,
yeah,
the Czech film.
the Czech film, because the character uses her earrings as good luck charms, which is why she references them in the lyrics about like shake my earrings over your bed.
Ah, nice.
So it's like shake your earrings over my bed. It's like her wishing for good luck because
Right.
of the movie Valerie.
It's one I've been meaning to see. I love old Czech films or old, Eastern European films, that sort of thing. There's such great stuff that came out of like East Berlin and Poland. Like
Yeah.
a Polish film I loved from recently. Back in the 60s, I guess. Recently, I saw it recently.
Yeah.
What was it? Mother Joan of the Angels, and it's about a convent of nuns who got possessed.
Right.
I think it was based on a report by Aldous Huxley, and that was also the basis for a Ken Russell film called The Devils,
Okay.
which is The Devils, very explicit. I don't know if you can get a director's cut. I think
Right.
people have tried because
I don't think I want to.
yeah, it's Jesus goes through some stuff.
Right.
This
more than the Bible?
Yeah,
'Cause
more
you
than the
kinda went
Bible.
Some stuff there.
Mel Gibson could never. This, the Mother Joan of the Angels, a lot more arty. It only alludes to these sorts of things that are
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
But it's so good, really well photographed, and it's just, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I want to see it again.
I know we're working backwards, but before we begin, that
Yeah.
dreamy 60s style with the soft bass and drums and guitar twangs, again, this is like harmonies coming in. And it felt like those arguments between lovers with silences and saying the wrong thing. And the whole chorus just hit me. And I listened to that and I was thinking, yes, those times that you go to bed on an argument and you wake up going, am I going to wake up to a happy person or a sad person? Will you be here? Will you be gone?
Yeah.
And it's just those things. Like Liam's incredibly happy in his relationship, but I've been in unhappy ones where you go to bed on an argument and you're like, will they be gone in the morning? And it felt like she was introducing us to that concept. So it was just, and then synth the outro.
Yeah. Cynthia, they don't mind just cutting back the vocals and then just let, their instrumentation play, which is really good and cool to see.
That's true.
Any other final things you want to raise before we go to anything we haven't sort of covered yet?
I think we've covered quite a lot there. We've done
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah.
We should get a Ouija board, see what the other side says.
Yeah.
Like, not referencing Trish Keenan's passing, but just because the occultism.
Yeah.
I know she was getting very into the occult towards the end. She was dabbling in cut-up lyrics as well.
Okay.
Like that William S. Burroughs, cut up a
Yeah.
heap of sentences and pull them out, see what...
That's what Radiohead do too.
Yeah.
The Dardoism.
Yeah, so apparently it's got links to the occult.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Apparently.
We used to do that in my old band. I had no idea I was an occultist.
There you go. You're working with the devil.
No, sweet. I've known that for a while.
Oh,
so
okay.
That bit we knew.
Mazel tov.
So I guess it's time for Tim. What's your final pitch on Broadcast?
I guess it's the same one that I always use for everyone. If the people that made Doctor Who made pop songs, everyone loves the Doctor Who theme. It's such a great hook. If they made pop songs, this would be it. And you can't hate the Doctor Who theme, especially the old one. I mean, just sends shivers. I never really cared much for the show, but the technical things that they did, whether it be the effects on the show or the sound effects, especially the sound effects were what I was really into. That was the show I really wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Oh. So, Liam,
hello.
Final thoughts on a thumbs up and a thumbs down?
Yeah, so like I said, I had no experience with this whatsoever. Like I said, in 2003, this wasn't really the kind of stuff I was listening to very much. I probably would have been like, I don't know, where's my dudes rocking out with guitars? But yeah, it's really cool to have listened back to it now. Her voice is just amazing. Like I said, it's really made me quite sad to think that she wasn't able to keep creating, and I'd love to have listened to this as the first one and think, I've now got 5 more albums that I could really do a deep dive into.
On the plus side, though, I think James Cargill has been saying for a long time they have recorded stuff in the past.
Yeah.
And they've been digging through to find, to put it together.
I'm kind of opposed on principle to releasing stuff after people die, though. I don't like the principle, no. Because I always think if they thought it was, if the person who died thought it was finished, they would have released it. But it wasn't. But I mean, obviously it's released with the star of, the person who did it didn't put this out, but it's still, grinds me the wrong way a bit. Yeah. But anyway, love her voice, love their song construction, really cool sounds, that sort of thing. It's 14 songs in 38 minutes, which is why it weirds me out to say the thing I didn't like about it was that it felt too long.
Oh, okay.
Not the 38 minutes, obviously, but the 14 songs felt like it was a bit... There was this... And it's not that any of the little 2-minute, 1-minute pieces were bad in and of themselves, but it went in different places, and by the end I was like, okay, I probably wouldn't listen to this again as a whole piece. I'd probably grab a few of the songs that I really loved, including some of the instrumentals, and put them in things. But as an album as a whole, it felt like it went to too many different places without a really consistent follow through, apart from her voice, which was, so really loved listening to it, really liked being introduced to the band, but I wouldn't say it was flawless.
Oh, no!
George, final thoughts and a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Okay, so this is a beautiful record with Warp out records, so that's awesome. And as I said, it would have been very much in my wheelhouse had it come out in 95 to 99.
Yeah.
Trish's voice is so ethereal with a childlike innocence, but it's coupled with the saddest, heart-wrenching lyrics.
Yeah.
The drums and bass really sold this record to me. The versatility and drive was beautiful. It's definitely a headphone walking in the dusk album. I listened to it a few times just with my headphones on, and I was just I was sat at an antique writing desk to write my notes with my headphones on, and I was like, this is just so perfect right now.
All it needs is just a view from you, from the up above, through some sort of filter that makes it just look gossamer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gossamer is the right word.
And snowing outside.
Yeah, snowing outside.
It needs to be snowing outside.
Will my love come back to me?
Yeah.
However, I'm sorry to say, being someone with heightened anxiety, I only listened to Black Umbrellas, which we didn't talk about.
No.
Once.
Okay.
Because I got freaked out because it's somebody chasing you.
It is, it builds in tempo and distortion
builds
and
like
stuff.
footsteps of somebody chasing you. And I was like, I didn't want that.
Right.
I don't want that on the album, because
fair.
it meant that in my future listens, I was on Spotify going, hide this song. Because with my headphones on, which are really good, it made me really anxious, having a surround sound system. So, which I'm not allowed in my apartment because I don't like the idea of sounds behind me, because it freaks me out. So I wish I'd paid attention to them sooner, but I can't make the whole album flawless because I would skip Black Umbrellas every time.
You literally can't listen to it. So.
I literally can't listen to it. Yeah, and I know that that's their intention, because it's probably the love is running away or something,
Yeah.
or there's going to be some concept that they would be able, that Cargill would be able to tell me, but because I can't listen to it, I can't call it flawless, but the rest of the album is beautiful. So thank you, Tim, for bringing this.
Yeah.
to us.
Sorry about the anxiety attack.
Yeah. I just popped a couple of Valium and just cracked on with the
It
rest
feels
of the
like the ideal way to listen to it. Probably ketamine or some Valium. Just zone out.
Valium just makes me a normal person.
Oh, lucky.
But so we have reached the end and we couldn't get to a flawless, but we did have a lovely time. So thanks you everyone for listening. We have Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, or X, or whatever it's called.
Or X, whatever it's called by the time. We don't have Threads yet.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to see what the impact of Threads is.
Well, it seems to be going better than X.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be Threads, it could be Blue Sky, it could be Mastodon, who knows?
I did get a Blue Sky. Thank you, Kelly, friend of the podcast, for giving me a Blue Sky yesterday. So.
There we go. So as we are flawless AMP on all of those. So join the conversation, share or like our post or give us a rating. Every little bit helps us find more music lovers like you. Or perhaps you just really enjoy hearing us talk about music, but listening to music is your least favourite part. Who knows? As mentioned, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/flawlessamp. If you would like to back us, please check us out. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.